Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 5820K, and that's one of the latest of the CPUs that Intel was released recently. But before I start getting into the thick of it, we're going to try this one a little bit differently. For starters, you can click on the link in the bottom of the screen to go and have a look at all of the graphs and all the benchmarks and all the written stuff on the OC3D website. And you can go and get a lot better of an idea there. Some people do prefer to kind of read it and then watch it, so you can get the, both sides of the story. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a lot more screenshots and stuff today, although a lot of them, as you'll see, do kind of validate the results that we've got. But also what we are going to do is we're going to make this pretty much like an extended conclusion. So I'm going to tell you the award right away at the beginning, and then we're going to talk through about what it is. And I just thought I'd try it a different way, and then we'll wait to see the feedback from you guys about whether you like it or not. Now, the rig that we're going to be using is it's going to be based on the Rampage 5 Extreme, because obviously we have to pick a motherboard for when we start doing all these new products. So we're going to go straight in with the Rampage 5 to replace the Rampage 4 that we were using previously. We've also got some Corsair Vengeance LPX 2800 MHz memory. We do have some G.Skill 3000 MHz memory as well that we've got to hand for testing, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. The graphics card that we've got in there is a 780 Ti. Now you may be wondering why we've gone with a 780 Ti and not the 980. But that's because with the older results that we got, we did all of our older testing on a 780 Ti as well. So it's actually so that our graphs and results can tie in. It does mean that with our 3D results, there is no change there, so that we know that any differences that we've got are drivers or actual CPU performance differences. So it's just to try and keep things as fair as possible, and actually means that our graphs actually mean something as well. Then we've got SanDisk Extreme Pro solid state drive. We've got Corsair H105 for cooling, which is kind of important later on when we start talking about temperatures and the like. And it's all in our Corsair 540 Air. So that's the test rig. On to the actual CPU itself. Now the prices are kind of skirting around, although I did say I was going to tell you the, and I've just noticed that you can see the poppy. So right away again at the beginning, poppy is a sign of remembrance, and it's going to be all over the website as of the 1st of November, and I'm going to be wearing these as well. If the sign of the poppy and what it stands for offends you, then I'm not going to say anything other than I'm sorry, but you probably don't want to be watching my videos for the next couple of weeks. If you are interested in exactly what it stands and what the Royal British Legion stands for, please go and Google it, because it's all about fallen servicemen, not just recently, but First World War, Second World War as well. And I'm an avid supporter of the Royal British Legion, so that's why I will be wearing this for the next couple of weeks in my videos. And like I said, it's going to be on the website as well. So if you're interested, go and have a look. If you don't know, but again, if it's a sign that offends you, then I'm really sorry, but I'm certainly not going to be changing it for the minority. Anyway, back onto the more upbeat stuff, the 5820K. So it's actually the baby of the 2011 V3 range. There are in there they released 3 new processors. The 5960X was the top of the range one, 8 cores, 12 threads, massive price tag. Had 40 PCI Express lanes, 20 mega cache. It's the 8-core monster, the one that you all wanted to look at originally. But then there's 2 other ones below that are just 6 cores as well. The 5930K is the 40 PCI Express lane one, but if you have a look at the little graph that I'll pop up, the 5820K only has 28 lanes of PCI Express. And basically what that means is if you're going to run a dual GPU setup, it will be 16 lanes and then 8 lanes. Work it out, it's 24 lanes, so you have a few left over. If you run triple graphics, it's 888. And it's really the only difference. I mean, they all say that they support the same amount, the same speed memory, but just to be clear with everyone on this, the way that they say that, on the graph it says that it supports 2133 memory. Well, it says it supports 2133 memory, but for argument's sake, the 5960X I've had running so far at 3400 megahertz. So this is just like a click and forget about it type of thing. You don't have to buy, you know, if it says 2133, you don't have to buy a 2133. If it says like on the old 49 series that they only supported 1866, doesn't mean that you have to buy 1866. If you want to go beyond that point, you are going to have to do your research though, because as I'll talk to you about in a little minute, you can't just buy the quickest memory that is available and then just expect it to be able to run it out of the box. Some of it won't do it. Some of it will take a little bit of tweaking, will take a little bit of twerking. And I've just realised I still haven't even told you about the award that we're going to be giving this yet. So I've not started very well so far, have I? And I do feel like I belong in the news. But anyway, so we're going to give it the Silver Award. And the reason for it is really, and we do need to kind of break into all the screenshots and stuff. So we'll start off with this one. This is just stock screenshot. So this is what I wanted to show you. You can see that it's running at 1.148 volts. Nice and simple. We've got 29 multiplier at 100 megahertz. Then that's your multiplier and your bus speed. And then the core speed is 2.9. It will turbo though. This one will go up to 3.6. But another thing to keep in mind is that 3.6 gigahertz, that'll only do that on a single core. It doesn't do it on all of the cores, because it kind of, they normally run at about sort of 3.3, 3.4 top end across all of the cores. So it really depends on what type of loading that you put them under. And this is where it gets complicated, and this is something I wanted to stress to everyone, because it's something that I've not seen discussed enough recently. And it's certainly something that when talking to the vendors seems to have been missed quite significantly by other media. And that's not a dig at anyone, it's just the fact that I want to make sure that I cover my arse and educate you about the way things have changed with these new 2011 processors. So the base is 100 base clock. So you've got 100 megahertz on the base clock, and that's your stock, the way it will run. But if you get any memory above 2666, the way that they get that memory to work correctly is they up the base clock, and it's quite a big change as well. So for argument's sake, if we bring this next screenshot up, this is the processor at stock, nothing changed in the BIOS whatsoever. All we've done is enabled XMP. And if you have a look at the first thing that you can see is the core speed has gone up a great deal. But that is because if you have a look, the bus speed is now at 127.25. The core voltage for this has stayed the same, although with earlier BIOSes across all of the boards, the motherboards were up in the volts to about 1.2, but this with newer BIOSes, at least on the Rampage Extreme, seems to have they've taken that out of it, and it's all nice and stable. But so if we have a look at the DRAM frequency, it's running at 1399, so 1400 basically. But because of DDR, double data rate, that then times this by 2 and goes up to 2800 megahertz. So the thing to kind of get your head around here is they've the multiplier stays the same, but they've had to increase the base clock to 127 to get the memory up that high. So you've just by enabling XMP, you've now technically got a processor running at 3.7 gigahertz and the memory to get there as well. With the 2800 megahertz, this was the absolute top end I managed to get out of the 5820K. But I say the top end, it was, I tried getting 3000 megahertz running, I couldn't, and obviously I know way in and around the BIOS, so I know about tweaking the cache and all the other bits and bobs that I can to try and get this memory running higher. With this, I couldn't get it running higher at all. I could not get 3000 megahertz running. Now, it's not, as with some of the earlier BIOSes, and especially with other brands, there was a problem getting 3000 megahertz running on anything. But I know that I've had my 5960X running at well over 3000 megahertz with this board and this BIOS. So I'm 100% comfortable in saying that the 5820K, or at least my sample, isn't that great with really high memory. But then again, if you consider the fact that a 2800 megahertz kit could cost you up to and around the £400 mark just for a set of memory, are you really going to want to spend more money on memory than you did on the processor in the first place? Bandwidth, sure, it's a great thing with these processors, but you know, it's not the be all and end all. If you're buying a processor that's this kind of cheap in the first place, Why would you then want to go on and start thinking about 3000 megahertz memory and all that type of stuff? When if memory's that important for most people, it's probably going to be more important for you to have more of it rather than it actually being, stupidly quicker. At least for like workstations kind of work and normal kind of desktop sort of work. So you do have that to consider with. Now, when it got to the overclocking, which is the next screenshot that I was going to talk to you about, this was when it got really complicated because I couldn't get much above 4 gigahertz with 2800 megahertz running at all. And it didn't matter whether I was smashing volts through it and all that type of stuff. And this is another thing that I wanted to kind of clear out with these as well. If you put an obscene amount of voltage through these processors, it doesn't matter whether you're running water cooling, AIO cooling or anything, these CPUs do throttle. So if you just smash a load of volts in and then kind of hope that you can go back later on and put it down, it actually won't run very well. Also, and this is something, talking about like the memory and stuff as well, with overclocks, it's all right just saying, oh, I got 4 gigahertz, but kind of how did you get to 4 gigahertz? Did you have the base clock changed? What was your cache running at? What was, the overall overclock? So it does get very complicated. With the 5820K, I did find the best way to get a high core speed out of it, I did have to go back to that 100 base clock. Because for if I wanted to keep that 2800 megahertz in line, which meant that I was running 127 BCLK, I really couldn't put the multiplier up much more than another 1 or 2. And for the benchmark side of things, especially CPU orientated benchmarks, it made more sense for me to run the memory lower down, which I was running at just 2400 megahertz, which is kind of almost a very basic memory speed for these. And then I went up to the 4.4. I did manage to tweak it a little bit later on, and we got it running, as you can see in the screenshot, we got it running at 2600 megahertz. But I'm not even joking here, it did take an obscene amount of time for me to be able to get there, bugger around with that. And to be fair, it wasn't it was a level that I could benchmark with, but I'd say with a gut feeling, over a period of time, I think it probably would have got a little bit shaky and probably a little bit unhappy, and I'd had to have ended up putting the volts up. But it was all right for these, so that was all right. So if you have a look at these, the best I managed to get out of it were 1.3 volts, which is a sensible amount of volts. And also, if you're going to have a look on the OC3D website, you can see that the temperatures were all below 70 under loading on this, and I did do the temperature tests with OCCT as well. So we got 4.4 out of it, which was a lot of work. I would have thought that most of you out there are going to end up at about 4.2, and then if you get a good CPU, you may be able to get your 2800 megahertz out of it. But again, it's going to be hit and miss, and that is the silicon lottery. This is something else that you all need to kind of keep in mind with these things, is that just because it's the same CPU that your mate's got, they can both perform like totally different processors. But if we go on to some benchmarks, this is Sandra processor arithmetic. And what I've also done, and it's an immense amount of work when you think about it as well, we do stock tests, which is just click and run. We do 2800 megahertz tests, which is just enabling XMP, and then we do our final overclock test, which I've shown you all the results for as well. So you can see how these stack up in the graphs. Now, considering it's processor arithmetic, it's actually on this Sandra one, it's actually quite close to the 4790K at the bottom of the graph. I was quite amazed by that, and obviously then you can go up to the 4790Ks, and it does open up the differences when you start to overclock them. And with this, at least, you can see with an overclocked 5820K, it can actually outperform a stock 5960X. But all of the benchmarks don't necessarily go that well. I mean, X264 it does go work relatively well with, but again you can see the 5820K is actually outperformed by the 4790K. That's actually probably down to the fact that the 4790K at stock would have been running at 4.4 gigahertz because of that turbo that it's got on it, and it's a very healthy turbo as well. So when you consider that, it's only really once you start smashing in the really high memory or the overclocks that the 5820K does seem to look better in the graphs. Prime 95, W Prime, that in itself, I mean, the results speak quite loudly. Again, it does perform a lot better with faster memory, and with that overclock. But at stock, again, it's the bottom of the graph. So it's, you know, out the box, it's really not that great. Gaming wise, and we are whizzing through these now, you can see that you've got the quad cores and the stock 4960X at the bottom, and all these newer processors with the DDR4, they have done relatively well. There's only 3 or 4 frames per second in it though when it does come to games. And we've done Tomb Raider, Sleeping Dogs and Hitman, so we've mixed it up between AMD games and Nvidia games, or those that, you know, kind of benefit from it. But again, it's not you know, a massive kind of mind-breaking amount. So bringing you back, and we get rid of all the graphs, and we'll kind of wrap it up, and we'll try and wrap it up so that I kind of whittle through it quite quickly. Essentially, my gut feeling with the 5820K is a basic processor. Definitely basic 2011, but it's still more money than the 4790K. Now, if you're thinking about this as a gaming rig, I would honestly say that I don't personally think it's a great gaming processor. I think the 5820K is for someone that needs those extra cores for video rendering and the like, but is on an immense budget. Say you're starting your own business and you haven't got the money to go up to the 5960X or something like that. Fair enough, but it does need to get the best from it. You do need to tweak and play around with it a bit. You might find that, you know, a slightly lower core speed than the 2800 megahertz is going to work with you, but really for your own specific needs, what you're going to need to do is kind of work it out. But it is kind of, it's a very confusing point with these, because if you're going to be using it for video rendering and all that type of stuff, and you're actually going to use those cores, I would have thought, especially if you're a professional, you're going to end up with the 5960X. If you're a gamer, I would honestly say go for the 4790K or even the 4690K, because for gaming, although the graphs do look alright, it doesn't make enough of a difference to be able to say to yourself, well, is it really worth spending extra money on? I personally don't think so, because when you go up to that 2011 package, you've got the DDR4, which is going to cost you a lot more money. You've got the motherboards are going to be more expensive. I personally think that if you're a gamer, stick with the 1150 socket and just spend the money that you've saved on a better graphics card, because that's going to be the single biggest difference that you're going to be able to make. Again, the 5820K, I would have thought, belongs in basic kind of almost office-based workstations. I don't think it's, from the experience that I've had, I don't think it belongs with an enthusiast or something like that. They've definitely been speed binned. This literally feels so kind of perfect underneath the 5930K. It's unreal. So I would personally say, if you're looking to overclock, have a bit of a play, want to get on DDR4, I would go for the 5930K. If you're really looking to scream it, you know, loads of games, loads of graphics cards, want to overclock, want to have a play, then you could even want to step up to the big daddy at the top. The 5820K just feels so kind of basic at the bottom. It's almost like the dregs from the bottom of the barrel or something like that. It's definitely the leftovers that hasn't done that well. This feels so kind of like speed bin to me. It's unreal. It's real hard work. The memory controller definitely wasn't strong as the others that I've played with, and by that I mean the other 6-core and the 8-core. And I don't think personally that it's worth the investing. If this was the one that you're after, I don't think it's worth investing the money in, which is why we gave it a silver award, because it's got a very kind of niche market and it's still going to be quicker than anything AMD's ever going to make or has made, but it's not worth the money for, you know, most of you out there. So at the end of it, the advice is this: if you're a gamer, stick with the 1150 socket. Even with the 4790K, you can just leave that bloody thing running at stock and it'll be amazing. Just spend money on your graphics card. If you're looking for 2011, you must have it, but you want to overclock and play around with it, get the 5930K instead. And if money's no object, why are you even watching this video? You should have bought the 5960X and run away with it like I already have already. But for now at least, this is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you. Out. Ding! Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Intel 5820K. Now, for those of you that don't know, Intel recently released 3 new 2011 V3 processors, and they are the 5820K, the 5930K and the 5960X. Now the 5820K and the 5930K are both 6-core 12 fuck you. Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Intel 5820K 6-core 2011 V3 processor. But I'm going to try and do things a little bit differently today, and I really need to move that out. Wait, oh no, I need to move me up here. Yes, stop. Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video. Fucking outtakes again. Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you. And today we're going to be taking a look at the Intel 5820K. And everything is fucking going wrong today for fucking cocking, bollocking, twat ass. Fuck off.